January 26, 2026, Chapter 13.5, Responsibility of a Virtuous Friend, page 1346 to 1354. Buddha-dhamma, compiled by Somdit Prabhuta Gosa Acharya. English name, P.A. Payutto. In chapter 13.5, in the context of spiritual training, the participation and support by good companion in various activities is an external condition. An important factor here is that mutual influence people have on each other in the area of thoughts, in the area of opinions, in the area of attitudes, in the area of values, and in the very area of understandings, which collectively are called Titi in Pali, translated to views or opinions. If these ideas, if these attitudes, if these values, if these forms of understanding are incorrect and harmful, they are known as miccha titi, meaning wrong view. While if they are correct, and if they are wholesome, kusala, and beneficial, chanda, they are called samadhi, right view. A person who encourages someone to have miccha, wrong view, is a bad friend, bapa mita. While a person who encourages someone to have right view, samadhi, is a good and true friend, kala na mita. Often a person's mentor at home or school, for instance, a person's parents and teachers, have less influence than the friends the person plays and associates with. But it also happens frequently that a person's friends living nearby have less influence than the people who live far away, both in physical distance and in time, and who possesses the power to reach a person's heart. The companions who travel via the mass media, say through channels of entertainments and books, including biographies of great people whose qualities one emulates. The factor allowing someone to exert an influence on others or to bridge between the external companions and other people's minds is belief, confidence, admiration, and inspiration, which together are referred to as sattha, faith. When sattha, faith, is generated, one can be influenced by another even though he or she lives far away and is not as a close associate. Some people may live close to home, but if one has no confidence in them, they will have little influence. Therefore, those who have the responsibility of instructing others and imparting samadhi, right view, should first generate sattha, faith, and confidence in others. A basic principle in spiritual training is for akala na mitra, virtuous friend, to act as a catalyst for sattha, faith. Association with the wise and honest people is a condition for this arising of faith. Although one may be a good and wise, if one is unable to generate sattha, faith, and confidence in others, one still does not qualify as a kalala mitra, a virtuous friend. Nor has a true connection with others been established. When sattha, faith, is generated, another person is receptive. One can help guide, the person's thoughts, the person's behavior. Initially, the person may simply emanate one's behavior, or one can engender a correct form of thinking, which is another level of spiritual practice. The decisive fact of determining whether one fulfills the responsibility of kala na mitra, of virtuous friends, is whether the person one associates with arrives at samma titi. A technical and doctrinal explanation of samma titi will be presented in the following chapter. As an introduction, it is useful here to point out that the various virtuous and correct views, opinions, values, and forms of understanding, which are collectively called samma titi, have many details and particulars. It may be explained in different ways. An examination of the formal teaching, however, reveals that these views can be detailed in two kinds. First, beliefs, views, perspectives, and forms of understandings which are correct, wholesome, and rational, which are related to the matter of ethics, to good and bad behavior, and to the corresponding fruits of such actions, epitomized by saying that one weeps as one sows. Further examples of this kind of views are a trust in virtue, say the merits of one's mother and father, mata pita, and a belief in line with the religious teaching, say the teaching of the next life. In brief, one can define this as a view in according with the Dhamma, or Dharma, or a belief in the law of karma, causality, causes and effects, conditions, which engenders a sense of responsibility in the regard to one's actions. The precise term for this view is kammasakha na, the knowledge of being an owner to one's actions or one's deeds. This conscious, mundane, right view, lokya sammatiti, arising from understanding of cause and effects, and instilled by teachings passed down in one's community. It generates righteousness, virtuous behavior, and leads to a peaceful, well-ordered society. Second, views and forms of understanding about the world, about life, or about condition, phenomenon, which accord with satya, truth, which accord with the true nature of phenomenon, with the natural law of causality. By this understanding, a person recognizes how to relate to things in the world correctly. One understands that all conditioned things arise from the convergence of interconnected factors. They exist according to the interrelationship of causes and conditions, and therefore they are unstable, impermanent, and unsustainable. Their associated factors are in a consistent state of conflict and pressure. These things are not truly independent. They cannot be truly owned by anyone. They are ultimately not subject to anyone's desires and wishes. When things exist in this way, how could we relate to them? Is it appropriate to be totally engrossed in conditioned things or to dictate one's life to pursuing them? Every human being, too, is a conditioned phenomenon and subject to the same natural laws. We are all companions in old age, companions in sickness, and companions in death. As a consequence, how should we relate to one another? This form of understanding arises through proper discernment, reflection, and consideration of things in accord with reality and the causal nature of things. This is called sammatiti, right view aligned with transcendent understanding. Although at the beginning it is still a conscious, mundane form of understanding, it is on the path and will develop into a supra-consciousness, a transcendent right view, lokutraya sammatiti. The first kind of sammatiti is called Kammasaka Samatiti or Kammasaka Nana. This is the knowledge of how people are the owners of their own volitional, intentional actions. This is the ability to recognize and distinguish one's own intentions, volitional actions. This acknowledges and knowledge generates a sense of responsibility in respect to one's actions. It is right view, samatiti, on the level of righteous conduct, dhammacharya, or in the relation to kusala kamma pata, wholesome course of actions. It is benefit for the goal of both immediate, mundane level, ditta dhammi kata, and the refined spiritual level, samparayikata. It is the basis for the supreme good, paramatta. The second kind of samatiti is classified as insight right view, vipassana samatiti. In the Tipitaka of the Pali Canon, it is referred to Satchanulomika nana, knowledge consistent with truth, or the knowledge in line with truth. It leads to the awakening, leads directly to the supreme good. It is evident here that the essential kind of samatiti, right view, leading to the highest goal of Buddhism, is the second kind of knowledge in line with satcha, the truth. All Buddhists, regardless of whether they aim directly for this highest goal or not, should be careful not to stop at the first kind of samatiti. Rather, they should advance to the second kind by cultivating this form of panya, wisdom, at least to the initial degree. This is because the kind of samatiti reduces and alleviates greed, reduces and alleviates hatred, reduces and alleviates delusion. It helps to establish an improved relationship to the world. It makes the mind clear and bright. It increases sukha, happiness. It reduces oppression. It reduces conflict. It reduces distress in the world more effectively than by using the method of restraint and control that is inherent in moral discipline, sila. It benefits both an individual and society as a whole. When one analyzes the sequence of events, one sees that the association with good persons, or to have a virtuous friend, kalala mitra, leads to the opportunity to hear the Dhamma, to receive the teachings, either directly or indirectly. When the teaching of the Dhamma truly conforms to the principle of satcha and goodness, truth and goodness, the teaching is presented in a well-reasoned, coherent way. Sattha, faith will arise in the person who receives the teaching. Association with a wise person, to have a virtuous friend, to listen to the Dhamma, to cultivate sattha, faith. This is part of the sequence. In the Tipitaka, it reads, Sapurisa samseva sa dhamma savana sattha. There's a passage describing the process of relinquishment, which includes the teaching. When one has a virtuous friend, one is able to eliminate the lack of faith, narrow-mindedness, and indulgence. Other texts like the Visuddhimagga, compiled by Venerable Buddhaghosa, apply this teaching to explain the nature of faith, stating, faith may have a factor of a sotapanna, a stream entry, like association with virtuous and proximate causes. Here, one comes to a vital point in spiritual training or practice, the connection between an external social factor and an internal personal factor. The external factor is learned from others, but paratogosa, here meaning to have a virtuous friend, kaya na mitra. On his own results, sattha, Faith leads only to the mundane right view, lokiya samatiti. So sattha leads to only to the lokiya samatiti. If one only reaches the stage, then one's spiritual training is incomplete. One would not reach the highest goal of Buddhism. When one abides only on the level of sattha, only on the level of faith, one still relies on one's teachers, one's virtuous friends, and one's behavior is still one following an example or an imitation only. One has not yet gained deep insight and clear vision. One has not reached complete liberation by applying it themselves. They're just imitating it. The solution is to find a bridge to arrive at the internal, to a personal factor of yoniso manasikara, personally wise reflection. A person should summon and generate yoniso manasikara, wise reflection, to replace sattha, faith. Because yoniso manasikara, wise reflection, leads to the transcendent right view, to true knowledge, and to the supreme goal of Buddhism. The external factor of a virtuous friend enables the link to the internal factor of yoniso manasikara. And it is considered the responsibility of a virtuous friend to help others generate this yoniso manasikara, wise reflection, within themselves on a personal level. A good teacher should not settle for the target of generating sattha in the student, but should use sattha to light the spark of wise reflection. Yoniso manasikara. A good teacher uses sattha, faith, as a link in the teaching of Dhamma. Having instilled confidence, he or she teaches the Dhamma so that the listener or the pupil rouses, awakens, realizes yoniso manasikara, wise reflection. The ability to reflect and to see all things according to satcha, the truth, in line with causality, karma, causes and conditions. Once yoniso manasikara, once wise reflection has been generated, the natural process of awakening unfolds until it reaches its culmination. During this time, the virtuous friend may help support and guide this wise reflection, yoniso manasikara, by offering regular Dhamma teachings. When the external factor is linked with the internal factor, when learning from others supports yoniso manasikara, wise reflection, the unawakened person who is receptive to the teaching is able to advance in the Dhamma teaching and practice. Unless one is a prodigy who initiates yoniso manasikara, initiate wise reflection spontaneously, or one is a simpleton who is unable to think for oneself. In Buddha Dhamma, a virtuous teacher does not assist others in order to foster devotion or a personal attachment, as such a relationship may lead only to copying the teacher's belief and conduct. A virtuous friend acts not so that others form a personal relationship with the teacher, but acts merely as a medium, a conduit, to help others connect to their own lives and their surroundings, to point out how they may reflect upon this according to satcha, truth, and discover for themselves how to relate to the world correctly. The process is explained thus: association with a wise person, to have a virtuous friend, to listen to the Dhamma, to cultivate faith, and to realize and utilize wise reflection. In the teaching of Panya development, or among the factor leading to a sotapanna, a stream entry. However, Gautama Buddha does not mention faith. It may be that it is in the context be considered faith to be a minor or subsidiary factor, that it does not require an emphasis. The process of Panya development, wisdom development, or among the factors leading to stream entry, the factors is illustrated thus. The virtues conductive to the group of wisdom, Vanya Vutti Dhamma, factors conductive to wisdom development, are sometimes abbreviated to the four factors of Go, Vutti Dhamma. They are equivalent to the four factors of stream entry, Sotapanna. Sotapati Yanga, Sapurisa Samseva, Satdhamma Savana, Yoniso Manasikara, and Dhamma Pati, practice in accord with the Dhamma. Many of the sources of these teachings have been cited earlier. Virtues are found in the teachings throughout the Pali Canon, the Tipitaka, the three baskets, as if the Buddha was looking for opportunities to mention them. So here it goes in the sequence. Associated with a wise person to have a virtuous friend, then listening to the Dharma, then applying Yoniso Manasikara, wise reflection, and then realization of practice in confirming to the truth, Satcha. Although they do not explicitly mention Yoniso Manasikara, wise reflection, the following sutra passages describe the style of instruction of virtuous friends who provide an independence to their pupils, allowing them to realize the truth by themselves. Makandiya says, I have such confidence in Master Gautama. Now, is Master Gautama capable of teaching me the Dhamma in such that I might rise up from this seat, cured of blindness? Gautama Buddha replies, then Magani Diya, associated with virtuous people. When you associate with virtuous people, you will hear the true Dhamma. When you hear the true Dhamma, you will practice in accord with the true Dhamma. When you practice in accord with the true Dhamma, you will know and see for yourself. Thus, these are the disease, these are the tumors, these are the piercing darts of the mind, the citta. But these, here, disease, tumors, and darts cease without remainder. That is, with nirota, sensation of one's upatana, clinging, comes nirota, cessation of bhava, becoming. With cessation of becoming, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair ceases. Such is the cessation of the whole mass of dukkha. Another sutra, verse talking to Brahmin Dottaka, says, I bow down and honor you, Sir Gautama, he who possesses the eye of Panya, wisdom, the all-seeing one. Please, Manasakya clan, free me from confusion. Gautama Buddha replies, see here, Dottaka, I am not able to free anyone in the world from confusion. When you have clearly understood the sublime Dhamma for yourself, you will cross over the ocean of defilements by yourself. In the case of a Kalana Mitra, virtuous friend has fulfilled the initial responsibility of recognizing the vital independence of others' practitioners for themselves. It is then important for him or her to emphasize the personal duties of these practitioners so they benefit in an optimum way from this and independence. Gautama Buddha therefore performed another responsibility of virtuous friend, that all of enjoining his disciple to perform their personal duties well. And as can be seen by the numerous teaching he gave on the listening to the Dhamma, conversing on the Dhamma, seeking guidance and advice from the Dhamma. Bhikkhu, monks, when listening to the true Dhamma, a person endowed with the 5 qualities is capable of entering upon and fixed course, consistence in righteousness and wholesome qualities. What are the 5? He does not think disparagingly about subjects being discussed. He does not think disparagingly about the speaker. He does not think disparagingly about himself. He does not distract. He listens to the Dhamma with one pointed attention. He reflects wisely. A vital quality here is yoniso manasikara, wise reflection, which is an agent giving rise to knowledge of understanding. This quality does not only permit to listen to the Dhamma or to verbal instruction. Rather, it should be applied to every aspect of one's life and in every circumstance, including to one's perception of sense impressions and to one's interaction with arisen phenomena. Wise reflection, as a primary agent in spiritual development, taken over from the instruction received from a virtuous friend, is the subject of a following chapter. But before finishing this section on the influence by others, paratokosa, it seems appropriate to speak some more on the subject of sattva, faith, which is the key factor in the discussion so far. The focus here will be on the proper role and practice of sattva in the course of bringing suffering to cessation. That's the end of chapter 13.5, page 1354 or 54, Buddha Dhamma.